Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of From No Crypto, No Crypto. I'm your host, the crypto coach, Blockchain Wayne. Today we're joined by Ida from Near. Ida, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Hi, Wayne. Hi, everyone.
Absolutely. Definitely. It's a pleasure to have you on. I know we've been trying to arrange this for a little while, so definitely excited to hear about what you have going on and also what's going on at Near. But before we jump into what's happening at Near and explaining what Near is, can you give a little bit about your background, maybe what you did before Web3?
Sure. Well, in a natural sequence of things, I joined Web3 from Web2. So my background is actually marketing. I did a lot of bunch of digital marketing, innovation stuff like AI-based projects, facial recognition, etc. I had my own digital agency, and then we got the business got acquired by Ernst& Young. So I was also doing 4 years consulting in one of these big fours, um, doing digital transformations, helping the big players jump into the next phase of transformation. And yeah, that's basically it. I always like to connect technology with marketing and make it sensible for the end users.
I got you. So it's almost clear to see why you jumped into crypto and Web3, but can you kind of give us that insight as to what spawned you to make that transition?
Sure. Well, I've been I've been active in crypto since 2016 when I essentially started investing. And then sometime around 2017, I also started mining Bitcoin and getting more into the tech part in the background of that. And throughout all of the time of my work at EY, we always touched upon, technologies, core IT systems, how to enable better traceability, understand better supply chain systems and everything. And then I started actually digging more into the blockchain itself and what blockchain itself can do. Um, and then at some point of time, I realized that it's time for me to move on from the corporation. And I kind of felt deep inside that blockchain is going to be my next step. And then how it usually happens, with the universe, when you're ready for something, it just comes. So accidentally, I heard that one of the guys that I knew from before, who was a pioneer in Web3 in the region, he was kind of looking for somebody to take over and lead near as represented within the Central Eastern European region. So we kind of sat down and he explained what is it all about. And at that point of time, this was 2 years ago, I had no idea what Near was, to be honest. But then I started digging more into Near ecosystem and everything. And I liked what I saw because it was all about, onboarding mass amount of users onto blockchain, onto Web3. So I felt, okay, this sounds like a very natural step forward in terms of what I was doing so far, which was customer experience and digital. And then what I'm able to do moving on with a new type of technology, which is Web3.
Awesome. Yeah, I figured it would be a natural progression from what you were doing before into the space, but interesting to hear that story. And yeah, I mean, Near definitely. I love when you see ecosystems that are being built, and not just. There's so many ecosystems I've seen over the years that have built flaunting this great tech that's hard for people to use. And it doesn't matter how good your tech is if you can't bring on board new people easily, simply, frictionless. It kind of causes it. It doesn't really spawn adoption. And so I know from what I've seen at Near as well that they're also focused on that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, for us, the last 2 years has been a lot about adoption, about user adoption, and this is why we were also focusing on some native Web2 projects that made perfect sense to combine with Web3, such as Kaiching, such as Sweatcoin. So these are essentially the apps that users were using anyway, and then with Web3 component, they're getting additional benefits, which is the whole purpose of what the Web3 world should be like. Data sovereignty, so bringing back the power back to the users, but also giving the users benefits for the actions they are actually performing in real life and online, etc.
right. And I don't know how you feel, but it seems like in the future, like other than the big ecosystem like Near ecosystem and ETH and these others, outside of that, it's not going to be people saying they're Web3 companies. There's just going to be a bunch of companies and projects that use an element of Web3, right? Kind of like what you guys did with those Web2 projects. Like you didn't try to convert them to Web3. It's taking what you're doing, enhancing it
Right.
with Web3, and then
Right.
bring that on, because I always give the analogy to people. It's like in the early 2000s, there were internet companies, right? There were
Exactly.
online companies.
Yeah, yeah.
Now every company's online. Every company's tied to the internet. So nobody says they're an internet company except for that internet service provider, right? So I think it's going to be the same thing with crypto and Web3, that we're going to get to a point in a few years where not everybody's going to be, they're not going to say I'm a Web3 company. They're basically just, they're a company, and most companies utilize Web3 to enhance their user experience, their onboarding, so many different things you can utilize it for.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, the funny thing is that the term Web 2 actually started existing once the Web 3 showed up on the scene. Like nobody was saying, oh, Web 2. Everybody was just saying web, right? Or social media or something. And I like to compare it because my background is in digital marketing, and I like to compare it like sometime around 2008, the digital agencies started to emerge, and it was all about digital marketing versus marketing. These days, it's just marketing, and by default, a lot of this marketing is happening on the digital because this is where the consumers are.
Right. Yeah, I never thought about that because I never really said Web 2. Nobody was saying that. Now, when I was talking to somebody that maybe was involved in the internet, like around the late 90s, early 2000s, I would compare old web to new web, right? Like the capabilities of static websites versus what you can do now. But yeah, you're right. So, and now I think we're just going to start to see these numbers. I even saw, I guess it was about a year ago, Jack Dorsey started talking about Web 5. I'm like, what happened to Web 4?
Exactly. Well, these days it's also important to, be in the buzz.
Yeah, yes. Skip a number, make it sound more enticing.
Yes.
Awesome. I definitely want to jump into near and what's going on there. So some of our listeners are new people that are just trying to learn more about the space. So can you give kind of like a high level overview about what near is?
Sure. So Near is a layer one blockchain. It is a proof of stake blockchain. It's carbon neutral, and essentially the way how this blockchain was built, and it was launched around 2018. The whole point of Near was to create a blockchain that is built for builders and built for users. What this essentially means is we've discussed that there will be probably no Web3 companies. There will be just like companies that are utilizing Web3. So Near was actually built with this in mind, to build a technology stack that will enable builders to build simpler solutions for the users to use and get the benefits out of Web3. So what it essentially means, where we are aiming towards, and what one of our main focuses is the whole chain abstraction. So this means that we want to make sure that chains are not playing a significant role in terms of like communication, what users need to understand. Essentially, what you want to do is come to the app or a website, and you want to use this website without like choosing the network, defining the transaction fees. Our purpose and a lot of our partners, which is other protocols, is to actually build a system where the whole system is doing this for the users in the background, and then the users are just utilizing the best they can get out of all the technologies. Because these days, like coming back to Web 2, you don't care if it's like the servers are like AWS or Azure or something else. Web 3 is a young industry, and this is why we still have this or that blockchain, and you need to have some specific sort of knowledge and education in order to utilize it. But moving forward towards 3 years ahead, this is the end goal, like what we want to make sure that happens.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, they don't need to really care what blockchain they're using and all those other intricacies you mentioned, gas, setting your gas fees, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They just want to get in and use it. And I always compare it to a car. You don't have to know how the engine works. You just need to be able to learn how to get in and operate.
Exactly. And now these days you still do. I mean, imagine like some of your parents or friends or relatives or mine, they come to the website and then they suddenly get, oh, do you want to use this or that network? I mean, like, what is a network, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the whole point. And then there is another perspective, which is AI perspective, which is being used now by a lot of companies, service providers. I mean, it's literally everywhere. So in order to plug in AI with the blockchain, and let's say connect the agents to the Web3, you do need to abstract the layer of blockchains. Why? Because once you don't have the specific blockchains, like everything is in the background, then you can plug in different AI agents and you can automate all of the operations and make the user experience even smoother and faster and effective and cost effective, etc.
Absolutely. I just had this conversation yesterday with somebody. When you talk about AI and blockchain, a lot of the VCs were like, "Oh, they were moving on from blockchain and Web3 because AI is the new hot thing." But really, at the end of the day, AI is going to enhance blockchain and Web3, and
Yes.
Web3 is going to enhance AI. Blockchain,
Yes.
cryptocurrency. Yeah, I think you need cryptocurrency for AI agents, because those AI agents, if they're doing financial tasks, they're not going to be able to open a bank account because they're not. It's an AI agent.
Absolutely. And the reason why you need blockchain is also to enable this like self-sovereign identity for the users, because the AI will be plugged into that. And once the users actually have their identity inscribed into blockchain, AI can connect to that, which essentially means that users are controlling what is being taken from their data and what is being utilized further in the training models, and they can actually get additional benefits out of that. So this is why we are focused very much into A, chain abstraction, and B, AI, because we see a perfect logic into merging these two moving forward. And much more, we see not even just a logic, but a necessity to do it in order to make AI itself more, I would say, not controlled, but maybe yes, maybe controlled, maybe a better framed, etc. Maybe better ethical, like more ethical, etc.
Yeah, better data, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
instead of like a centralized data source. Yeah, and it seems like Near. I don't know if you can give some insight on this. Near had seems to have an edge. I know Ilya. I heard him speak at ETH Denver about AI, not realizing that prior to founding Near, that his background was in AI prior to getting into blockchain and Web3 and moving. Basically.
Exactly. First there was Near AI, and then there was Near.org. So Near started as an AI project, and then at some point of time, I don't think they were getting the accuracy of the results they wanted to get. So they were introduced, like Ilya and Alex, co-founder, they were introduced to blockchain, and then they realized what opportunities are in the blockchain. So they decided to pivot Near into the blockchain until I guess AI is more developed. But there is like Near Crowd, which is one of the largest AI data sets. And this is now being utilized to build more AI solutions. Just today, it was announced that Near is moving stronger into the area of AI per se, like building the developer AI and stuff like that. So you will see a lot more coming out of the Near ecosystem in terms of AI very soon.
Nice, exciting to hear, and it's also very interesting. I think it's a unique concept that it started near AI, then moved into blockchain, because now you have a lot of blockchain and Web3 projects and ecosystems that they're trying to figure out how to mesh and blend in AI and
Yeah.
try to maybe spice up their project. And but starting with that foundation, I think it gives Near a great understanding of what are the needs for AI, and what are the complements that are needed from both sides. Um,
Yes, and I think that the background, like in Web 2 and large companies, for example, Ilya worked at Google on TensorFlow. I think this type of knowledge really now is very beneficial in building this. I see that the best solutions are typically coming out of the people teams who have been part of the large or very technology specific Web 2 projects, and now they entered Web 3, and now they are combining both. Because what Web 2 is great about was about making products, making solutions for the end consumers and understanding what end consumers need. What Web 3 is great about is thinking about how to create completely new economical layers. And then you kind of need to combine these two in the way that it makes sense in terms of the use cases for the end user. So that's what I think is actually the perfect combination.
okay, absolutely. So let's dive into a little bit of what you do at Near. So I met you at an event recently in Dubai, and Marie on our team met you at a prior event.
Yep.
And you mentioned that you're kind of in the Eastern European region,
Yes.
kind of a hub. So what is as far as what you do, what do you do for Near? What does that day to day look like for you?
Sure. So the way how Near is structured, like as an ecosystem, there is a central body which is Near Foundation, which is kind of the body where the investment went, and then it's in charge of like distributing the funds to the projects and to the ecosystem players that are enabling Near to grow uh, as a chain, as an ecosystem. So one of the ways how Near grows is decentralization through local presence, which essentially means that we currently have 4 official hubs, which are like funded by the Near Foundation. I'm running the Near Balkans Hub. There is a Banyan Collective, which is essentially covering the US market. There is Near Vietnam. There is Near Korea. And then you have all these other Near communities. We call them guilds, which is essentially like specific local communities, like in Brazil, in Mexico, in Canada, etc., etc. So some of them might grow into hubs, some of them will stay. It depends on the area of work that is being covered. Essentially, from our side, obviously, how the strategy is changing, how the priorities are changing within the ecosystem, we are also changing the focuses of what we are doing. Some of the things that we have been doing, like since the beginning, which was 2022 when we launched the hub, was obviously ecosystem growth. So we wanted to make sure that Near is well known across all these 12 countries. We were organizing workshops, events, conferences, onboarding developers, onboarding different teams. We also had a grant system to enable that. We had our own product lab, which essentially means we have been building our own products on the Near blockchain ecosystem within our product lab. So it's a bit of everything. There were also corporate partnerships. So we were like enabling a lot of enterprises, corporations to understand what the blockchain is, and then to test out and try out some of the solutions. So, for example, one of the interesting partnerships with one of the larger European media houses. They had a reality show, and we enabled that viewers are able to vote for their favorite person in the reality show, not just by calling or SMSing, but also they could claim an NFT and they can utilize this NFT to vote. Why was this interesting? Is because, for example, if you have this has been a regional show, and in regional show you have different numbers that are being used for different countries that are voting, but with the NFT you are actually crossing all of these boundaries, and you just have like the one NFT and you can utilize it to vote for everybody. So like this kind of stuff. We also did collaborations for Near with Nansen, with Axelar, with MasterCard. These were all very interesting projects. So, as I said, like the hubs are, let's say, here to make sure that the specific region where there is a lot of developer activity, Web3 crypto activity is covered properly. But on the other hand, all of us are also working on the wider scale, like managing different verticals where they are skilled at. And now our focus is also to build some important data infrastructure in terms of understanding better the whole ecosystem with a properly built CRM systems, just like building up that funnel even more effective, and utilizing like all of the people who are interested in joining the ecosystem, building within the ecosystem to really be able to, pinpoint the right players, connect the right people, and helping them grow in the end. Like you have so many projects in the ecosystem. We want to make sure that the best ones are properly represented and pushed towards the end consumers.
Right, and that's important because you can have a great project, you can have a great concept, but unless you can get the community behind it or get the end users to utilize it, it can go nowhere. We've seen that over time, whether it was just lack of marketing, lack of awareness. There's so many different things that can cause that. So it's important to do that to foster adoption. And you mentioned workshops, and I know it sounded like for what Near, it's focused on building the ecosystem, helping companies to onboard Web3 strategies. are there any workshops that are catered towards, like, say if I'm brand new and I just want to learn about this tech,
Yeah.
you guys do workshops for that too?
Yes, and then there is also Learn Your Hub, and there's Near's Dev Hub, which is like organizing a lot of workshops, online, offline, hackathons. What is important to say, the reason why these workshops are done, one is to introduce people to the Near ecosystem, but also Near Native is being built in Rust. But also you can utilize TypeScript to build, like basic components. So we wanted to show that it's easy if you're even a Web2 developer, that it's easy to become a Web3 developer. And then if you want to go and build a bit more complex solutions, then it's about understanding and learning Rust, because Solidity, which is represented in most of the, layer 2 solutions, is much more common. So Rust itself is something that needs like specific education for the developers also.
Yeah, I'd heard that out of a developer friend named Sheldon that was working with some near projects, and he was explaining to me the difference between Solidity and Rust, and those of us that are not developers weren't even aware, that of the differences. So, and that's important because I think there's a lot of people in, whether it's Web 2 developers, or whether it's Web 3 people that have done Solidity, that they can expand their role and their capabilities by
Yeah.
learning those different ones.
I always say, I mean, I'm not a developer, I'm not a technical person, but I've done a bunch of technical projects and I worked a lot with developers. And my experience is a good developer is a good developer. Like, give them 2-3 weeks and they are able to learn almost any programming language. So you just need to
Right.
give them the proper documentation and where to learn, and it goes.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's been interesting to learn more about Near. What's coming up for Near? Any events or any releases that you can speak about?
Yeah, so if you go to Near Protocol, at Near Protocol on Twitter or near.org, this is where a majority of the releases are being showcased. Today, and maybe I can say the date, but we are filming now on 22nd of May. We have just released news about Near going very strongly in the direction of AI. So like keep a close eye on that. We're going to be present on ETHCC in Brussels, and then moving on to different events such as Consensus, and such as in the fall it's going to be DevCon, and probably many more. But just like connect with us on Twitter, and everything's going to be published there in time.
Absolutely. So make sure to check it out. Make sure to follow them on socials. Any final words before we wrap up, Ida?
No, but it was really really great chatting up with you and seeing you again, Wayne. And I look forward to new things coming out.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a pleasure. I'll see you at ECC in Brussels here, in a little over
Awesome.
a month, I guess month and a half. But looking forward to that. So thanks again for joining us today, Ida. Thanks everybody for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.
Bye.